Good morning, Rufus here, and welcome to episode 5. I've had a good night's sleep, and it's a beautiful morning. I'm really looking forward to today. Got a lot to get through. First, I need to move the bales off the field and count how many I ended up with from the second cut. Then I need to get my hands on a plow and start carving out some proper fields for next season. But as you can see, my wallet's pretty much empty. Can't even afford next month's interest payment. So I'll probably have to sell a few loads of timber just to keep things going until the bales are ready to sell. Speaking of the bales, I think I'll start the day by checking how the fermentation's coming along before I get started. Alright, the first batch is just over 60% complete, so they should be ready to sell next month. Looking forward to having another source of income. I mean, the store pays alright for timber, but it's not like I've got an endless supply of trees on my property. I've probably already sold 25 to 30% of them, and I want to keep at least half for a rainy day. If something goes wrong with the harvest or the equipment, I need those trees as a backup. Otherwise, I'll go broke and end up back in hot, dusty Texas. Anyway, time to get to work. Let's find out how many bales I got from the second cut. Alright, I've gone around and picked up all the bales from the second cut, and I ended up with 80. That's 9 more than the first cut. Not bad. So in total, I'm sitting on 151 bales once everything's fermented. According to Seaman, I can expect around $1,000 per bale, so that should be a pretty decent payout for next season. Anyway, priority today is to get my hands on a plow and start carving out some proper fields. That thing's going to cost me about $5,000, so I'll have to sell a few loads of timber first. Alright, let's see if this load's enough to pay for that plow. Nope, only at about $4,500. So I'll need one more load. Alright, I'm on my way into town to sell this load of timber and pick up the plow. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm planning to have 2 large fields. Actually, one of the first things I did when I took over this place was sketch out a layout for the fields. So I'm pretty excited to finally get started on the plowing. That's going to make a huge difference in how the farm looks. I think some of the neighbors have been wondering why I haven't started on the fields yet. But they don't exactly know that Darlene left me with a whole lot of debt and not much else. So yeah, things have had to move a bit slower than planned. But that's just how it goes. You work with what you've got. Alright, this is the plow Seaman recommended for my tractor. Nothing fancy, just a small, solid plow that should get the job done. It's only about 1.5 meters wide, so yeah, it'll probably take a while. But I don't mind, as long as I get everything plowed before planting season starts in March. This is probably not the ideal job for an ex-accountant. I mean, I'm pretty meticulous, so I want the edges of the field to be just right. No rough edges. So yeah, this might take a while. I'll bring you back once I'm done with the edges on the first field. Alright, I'm done with the edges on the first field. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Nice and clean. Should be easy to work with once the field's ready. It did take me more than 2 hours just to do the edges though. But at least now it's ready for the actual plowing. While I was doing the edges, Seaman called me. Apparently every January they have this New Year's gathering at Meat and Milk, the local farmers club. Usually new members are responsible for hosting it. But Seaman agreed it wouldn't really make sense in my case, seeing as I'm still living in the caravan. So he said he'd ask if the Milker could host it this year instead. Anyway, enough talking. Let's get this field plowed. Alright, that's the first field done. It's getting pretty late, but I still want to put in a few more hours on the second one before I call it a night. I mean, plowing takes time, and I want both fields ready as soon as planting season comes around. I've been at it for about 7, maybe 8 hours now, but that includes all the time I spent getting those edges just right. So, yeah, I probably could have moved a bit faster if I'd been a little more sloppy, but I don't want ugly fields. Yeah, can't stand that. I'm going to be working these fields for God knows how many years, so I might as well do it properly. It's a bit trickier doing the edges without daylight, but I'm getting there. I also realize some of the bales are sitting right where the field edge needs to be, so I won't be able to finish the edges until I move them. That'll have to wait until tomorrow. So I think I'll just spend the last hour or so plowing the areas where I'm done with the edges. Alright, it's dark, it's cold, and it's starting to snow, so I'm definitely calling it a night. I managed to get the first field ready, and I'm maybe about a third of the way through the second one, so I'm pretty happy with the progress I've made today. And tomorrow's a big day. The first batch of bales will be ready to sell. See you then. Good morning. I've had a pretty rough night. It was freezing inside the caravan, so I didn't get much sleep. At one point, around 3 in the morning, I was actually considering just getting up and starting work. I mean, Swifty's a lot warmer and more comfortable than the caravan. Anyway, today I'm going to finish what I started yesterday, get that second field ready. And later today I'll be selling the bales from the first cut, which I'm definitely looking forward to. Not the part where I have to haul them into town, but getting paid a decent amount. That'll be nice. Might even mean I can stay out of the woods for a while. So the bales are nearly done fermenting, at about 90% now. While I wait for them to be ready, I'll head into town, refuel Swifty, pick up the wood trailer I left there yesterday, and then get back to plowing the second field. Alright, I've done a bit more work on the field. It's not quite ready yet. I still want to make it a bit wider. But it's about lunchtime, so I figured I'd check how the fermentation's going before I grab something to eat. The bales still aren't ready. I'm starting to get a bit impatient. Anyway, lunchtime. Alright, I actually drove into town for lunch. Ordered that delicious meatball in a bun thing I discovered the other day. Whew, amazing. Anyway, I spent the last hour or so expanding the field a bit more while waiting for the bales to be ready. And I just checked them. They're ready. So as soon as I finish this section, I'll head into town with the first load of bales. Alright, first load of bales is ready. Yeah, this is a big moment for me. The first agricultural product I've made is finally ready to sell. All those hours, mowing, baling, wrapping, and now it's time to finally see it pay off. According to Seaman, I can expect around $1,000 per bale. So I'm looking at roughly $10,000 per load and about $150,000 in total once everything's sold. Okay. That's not even $7,000. Seaman said a load should be worth around 10, so that's a bit disappointing. I don't know why his bales would be worth more than mine. A bale's a bale, right? Well, I'm heading to the meat and milk New Year's gathering tonight, so I'll ask him why the store's paying less for mine. Alright, coming in with the last bale, and the balance is looking pretty healthy. I think I had around $2,000 before I started selling, and now I'm up to 50. I'm pretty happy with that, even if I was expecting a bit more based on what Seaman said. Anyway, the New Year's gathering starts at 9:30, so I need to be done with today's work by around 9 o'clock. So before I call it a day, I've still got a few more hours to work on that second field and get things ready for the next step, preparing the fields for planting. Alright, I'm finally done with the second field. It's slightly larger than the first one, but both of them are a decent size. There's still quite a few tree stumps out there that I'll need to deal with eventually, once I can afford the equipment for it. Anyway, I've still got a bit of time before I need to get ready for the meeting, so I'm heading into town to give Swifty a bit of a facelift and pick up some lime for the next step. I need a front loader to lift those heavy bags of lime and fertilizer, so I'm upgrading Swifty. This is pretty cool. It'll probably take a bit of time to get comfortable using it, but it definitely makes Swifty a lot more versatile. Alright, with a bit of practice, I should be able to work a bit faster. Even with the extra weight, Swifty's barely heavy enough for this job. So once I get that second batch of bales sold, I'll probably have to replace her. Alright, all the lime's loaded onto the trailer. Hopefully 8 bags is enough for both fields. At least that's what I calculated based on how many acres I've got to prep. When I upgraded Swifty, I also noticed the store sells a pretty cheap spreader that can handle both fertilizer and lime. So I'm going with that. For a brief moment, I thought I was rich. But fitting Swifty with the front loader nearly cost me $15,000. So yeah, I'd better stick with the cheaper equipment if I'm ever going to afford a new Swifty. Alright, I'm nearly done for today. But I went back into town to pick up that spreader I mentioned, so everything's ready for tomorrow. The last couple of days have been really productive. I've prepared 2 large fields, sold a shitload of bales for $50,000, and spent a shitload of money upgrading Swifty. But I've barely talked to anyone. So I'm actually looking forward to meeting Seaman, the Milker, and the rest of the guys at the Farmers Club New Year's gathering. Take care, and see you tomorrow.